So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. I wanted to pop on because I've actually gotten a couple of DMs about this, about the Raphinha rumours. And that's all I think we have to say that they are at the moment. And they're not even heavily rumoured at all between Villa and Raphinha. I can't find a proper source. And I hope I don't offend anybody. If there's anybody from HITC that's watching this or anybody that's watching it from the Mirror, who I will admit I can't even find a link on the Mirror's website with an actual physical HTML link to a link to this player. But it seems to be popping up in other places with regards, but they're not of credible source. So I do want that out there straight away. But it did get me thinking about somebody like Raphinha and the fact that a lot of Aston Villa fans are clamouring for Nico Williams, who I would absolutely love. I think I've done 2 shows, if not three shows on Nico Williams. Absolute gem of a player. Thought he was 2 years ago when we were first linked with him, and still think so today. But I've always felt that Nico Williams would end up at the new camp. And if it was a straight shootout between the two of us, I've thought that was the case. Barcelona tend to find money when they need it for these players. Similarly, they found money when they needed it for Raphinha, when they really wanted him. And it just got me thinking that I suppose, the two cogwheels could collide here. That obviously Aston Villa, I do think Aston Villa want or have wanted to sign Nico Williams for quite a period of time. Whether they will be able to or not, to me, remains unknown. I don't think that they will. But until anything changes from that point of view, I suppose, or until the Barcelona interest stops, I would have to believe he's going to sign for Barcelona. Now, do we shoot ourselves in the foot, or do we bite off our nose to spite our face when a player of the immense talent that Raphinha is comes available? And yes, we know that if we purchase Raphinha off Barcelona, we essentially give them the money to buy Nico Williams. And do we do that? Do we not take the opportunity to buy Raphinha because we know that it would mean that it would end our pursuit of Nico Williams? From a monetary standpoint, essentially we're giving them the money to buy Nico Williams. And I think that would be silly if we were to do that. I think if Nico Williams has intimated in any way, shape or form that he sees his career staying in Spain or continuing Spain, and I think that that's probably a wise decision for him. Go to Barcelona. You've got a massive platform with a lot of eyes on you, and you stay within Spain. And Spain look to have that golden generation that they want to have come through with the likes of Gavi and Pedri, who neither of them were on the field, and will be a midfield partnership in time to come. You would also have Lamine Yamal on the other side as well. Two of you playing at club level as well as international level. And I think there's probably a lot in that. Also, you've got Corbisi, the centre half as well. I think there's an awful lot in that. And I think that, there's Spanish players want to play for one of the big two in Spain. And I know he's Basque, Nico Williams. I know a lot of people have made a big deal out of that. The fact that Unai Emery is Basque and, making that a thing. From a monetary point of view, from a marketing point of view, and so on, I think it would be very foolish if he didn't embrace the Spanish juggernaut as it is at the moment, and I think that's what he will do. Now, obviously, if he ends up in the claret and blue of Aston Villa, you will see me pantsless running down the street, because I think it would be an absolute home run signing. So the mind moves then to where can Aston Villa show opportunistic behaviour with regards to, okay, if you want Nico Williams, he's going to sign for you. That means that you're going to need the money. Let's drive a deal for one of the players you have. And Villa have been linked with Raphinha before. They've been linked with Ferran Torres. They've been linked with quite a lot of Barcelona players. Obviously, it came to note last year, in last year's off-season. But if it was Raphinha, or if Raphinha became available, I think Aston Villa would be very, very silly to turn it down if there was even a snowball's chance in hell that we could sign Raphinha. Because he's absolutely, like, he's statistically he's been absolutely brilliant, and he's been really good for Barcelona as well. Had an iffy start to his time there, went there and it didn't come as quickly to him. And I need to say it was a Barcelona in turmoil at the time, trying to, like, he was being blamed for a lot of their their financial woes, because, you know, what are we doing signing this guy when we're in financial hell. They were trying to keep their star high, or their star shining bright, by signing players of, big repute. And Raphinha was one of those guys. He signed for, what was it, 49 million or something like that. But he turned things around, and I've been reading a lot of stuff on him today. I've never really read much into him and other people's opinions. I've been reading a couple of things today. I found a really, really good article on The Athletic from Paul Balius. I think, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. I do apologize. And he gives a good insight as to how he kind of turned it around after a rough start to the season. Barcelona were in a situation whereby Ousmane Dembele they weren't sure whether he was going to re-sign a deal. He kind of had him over a barrel. They had the financial issues as well. Messi had left, and they were like, okay, we need to retool really quickly here. Lewandowski had come in up top. They were hemorrhaging money at the time, and they were trying to make everything work. They were trying to keep their star shining bright, as I said, and they were also trying to keep big names at the club, because they couldn't afford to have a situation whereby Messi had left, a couple of more other players had left, and then, they're seen as being a pale shadow of Real Madrid, who at the time obviously were winning Champions Leagues. So they bring in Raphinha, and as I say, it didn't work out with him at the start. There was a constant, well, why are we playing him if we want Ousmane Dembele to succeed? And, if we're not going to play Ousmane Dembele, why would he sign with us again, re-sign with us? And the long and the short of it, the Ousmane Dembele situation sorted itself out, and he ended up leaving the club. And Raphinha stood up, and he's been in and out of the team at times, but he's been a really, really good contributor for the team since he's been there. I've been reading a lot more into his demeanor, because I'm going to be honest, and I don't know whether it's some sort of I'm maybe just because he's South American, because South Americans have a love for life, they have a lust for flamboyance, they have and I'm stereotyping, I know here, but you know what I mean. I'm not doing it in a negative connotation at all, but it's a very kind of familial orientated culture there. There's a very your mind moves towards celebration and carnival and things like that. Once again, no, it's a sweeping kind of stereotyping with regards to that. But reading about somebody like Raphinha, he seems to come across as a very mild-mannered and thoughtful about his ability. Reading that article, it seems that if he's struggling for confidence, and sometimes he does struggle for confidence, he does have crises of confidence, but he knows that he's a good player, if that makes sense. And what he will do is he will go back and look at some of his highlight videos to remind himself that he can play. I found that was really interesting from this article. I'll link the article in it afterwards as well. Here too. The article's from 2023, but it still rings true. Also, he's really loved within that Barcelona dressing room. He seems to keep to himself, seems to be a bit mild-mannered. He's got a good friend group within the South Americans there, Araujo and a lot of the other guys. And he doesn't seem to be a troublemaker. And that's cool. And I'm not saying, like, don't get me wrong. The reason I'm not saying that is that, that I thought he was a troublemaker. I just never gave it any thought as to the type of person that he was, because he is so flamboyant on the field, and you can see that he has a will to win on the field as well. That is very, very admirable. Even his time at Leeds, he was lights out for Leeds for a period of time. Then Leeds started to decline, their overall play started to decline, and I think he had a bit of a crisis in maybe his own ability to be able to drag the team by the bootstraps. And maybe he felt that pressure as well. And you can kind of see that from this article, you can kind of see times reflected at his, moments reflected at his time at Leeds, maybe reflected at his early time within Barcelona, but he's overcome them, and he started to, he play, and he's regularly in the Brazilian team now on account of it. Yes, I know playing for Barcelona will immediately get you called up essentially for the Brazilian national team. And Raphinha he's been in and out of the Brazilian national team, but he has been called up, and he has been He has been somebody that has been relied on by Brazil at times as well. And I'm just wondering, as I say, I'm trying to think about this. Going back as well, I don't know whether this is even if there's any truth to the link in this, but I'm just trying to think why this link may come about. Then try to look at the player himself, because from a on the field point of view, Raphinha it's a no-brainer to sign him. It's a real no-brainer to sign him. Yes, he plays on that right hand side, but moving himself for Leon Bailey inside would be we could do that into a number 10 role. Could he play that central striker role? No, but once again I'm here on record as saying that we're replacing Diaby and we're replacing Duran if we need to. So I just think that that's what's going to happen. I know a lot of people have squad size concerns and a lot of people have PSR concerns and stuff like that. I think we're not going to squander our Champions League opportunity, and I know we're not going to win it, but our ability to be able to fight on two fronts, because we're not going to have enough attacking ability. I just think that that's going to be the case. I could be 100% wrong at the end. Might only sign one player, but I do think we will sign another attacking entity, and potentially two if Duran and Diaby leaves. But when we look at Raphinha, and I'll just bring up a stat sheet here, and I've spelt his name incorrectly here. I can say, and my dog. Yes, that's my dog, and it's really, really annoying. But bring up his statistics sheet here. Just look at where the green lines go. He's head and shoulders above anything we have. And yes, I know he's playing in Barcelona, and I know it's the system is dictated around around offensive play and so on and so forth. And I know he's got better players playing around him. And look, I understand this. The reason I say this is every single, like if I do a scouting series on somebody that's playing the championship, I get told those statistics mean nothing. Who's best in the championship? As if I've never watched the player play. If I don't, because most of these things that I do, I will watch at least 3 games, or I watch their every consequential moment, I suppose, within 5 games that they play. But the statistics side of things, I know, and when I do a statistics sheet on somebody who plays for an established team or a big team or a team in the Champions League or a team that's always winning their league, people will say, yeah, but sure, their team is dominant in that league and so on and so forth. So no wonder his statistics are going to be high. So some people just don't believe in statistics. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. But I just want to reiterate as well, for those new to the channel, it's not just statistics. The reason I show this is because it's a graphical view. And if I start rattling off numbers, well, then that's just going to sound silly and people will tune out. But the reason that I wanted to show this, and it is rudimentary, with regards to the line graph that we have here, but he's a damn good player. Like, if we're looking for creative force, and this guy was available, even though I have spelled his name incorrectly, if this guy was available, we would be absolutely mad, insane, not to sign him. Because and I don't know what money's been talked about. I don't know whether they're talking about 40 million, 50 million, 60 million, 70 million. I couldn't care. I don't know, because I don't even know if the rumor is real. But it's more the type of player. It's more this specific player and this type of player. And if we have to sign a marquee player, and if people are hanging their hat on Nico Williams, and let's say Nico Williams doesn't want to sign for Aston Villa, but the opportunity comes up to sign somebody like a Raphinha or Ferran Torres or somebody like that, Aston Villa are now the Aston Villa under Unai Emery, Champions League Aston Villa, are in the position to do these deals. It's mad. It's mad to think about it. We're in the position to do these deals. When we're linked with people before, you're thinking, okay, this could be the signing that could change the outlook, outlook the players have on the team. Whereas signing a manager was really what changed the outlook the players have in the team. I always go back to when Spurs were I suppose were kind of separating themselves from the rest of the pack, and trying to move towards top 4, top 6 team. And they signed Edgar Davids. And then Luka Modric then came, I don't know whether he came a year or 2 years later. And I thought for myself, and Modric wasn't a massively known entity at the time, but everybody knew he was going to be a star. And Spurs won the race for him. And I think that was their hello, we've arrived moment. Aston Villa's hello, we've arrived moment was signing Unai Emery. And who knows if we're here to stay. I hope to God we are. But, signing other players like this is our time and our opportunity to do it. And look, when we look at Raphinha here, I'm not going to sit here and try and dissect these numbers. These numbers are just really good from a creative point of view. There's no one touching him with shot creating actions, goal creating actions, doesn't get dispossessed. with the ball. He takes a lot of shots per game, and I think we do need to up our shot ratios as well over the course of this year, because I'm a big fan of, if you don't shoot, you don't score. And on the defensive side of the game, he's not dire. He's pretty good. He's pretty average, from that point of view. So realistically, when we talk about Raphinha, we're always I suppose thinking about the player, and we should think about the player. But with Diaby going here, I think one thing that we need to think about as well is that when we are linked with names, and once again, this will be the fourth time I've said it, couldn't tell you how true the link is with regards to this. But when we're linked with names, there's now a kind of a possibility that Aston Villa may sign them, and that's a fucking good feeling. It's a really good feeling to have. It's really good It's a really good realization, I suppose, that while you will always have agents linking their names just for the sake of it, that when somebody gets linked with Aston Villa now, you think we're in with a fighter's chance, a puncher's chance with getting a player. And it'll be interesting to see who we replace Diaby with. It will be really interesting to see who we replace him with. And if somebody like Raphinha came available, I think it would be a no-brainer for me to sign him. Absolute no-brainer to sign him. And there are lots of players out there like that. There are lots of players who may have been down on their luck that are playing in teams at the moment whereby, statistically it's not a fit for them, or sorry, not statistically, tactically it's not a fit for them, and their output isn't great and so on. And, not just saying it because this person's output is, because Raphinha's output is huge, but it's going to be interesting to see who we replace Diaby with. And it's nice to be excited, if that makes sense. It's nice to be excited that, yes, we're losing a player who this time last year, I was blowing the trumpet for him because he's a really good player and he had a good season for Aston Villa. But to be that confident, to be able to let go of somebody who, after 1 year, you spent a lot of money on, I think it was probably club record fee at the time, to be able to replace them with somebody who fans can feel is equally excited about, or in my view, I feel equally excited about. I don't know what you guys do. It's nice. It's nice that Aston Villa have got there, and Aston Villa are in that bracket now, and Aston Villa are in that mindset, and Aston Villa have matured as a club, and matured on and off the field from the point of view of being able to afford these things. Number one, that's still up for debate, and a debate that people should have. But on the field, with regards to the manager and the I suppose the saleability of the club, how to be able to sell the project and the club as a whole to players, and players like Raphinha, players like João Felix, players like who else have we been linked with recently? Gosh, so many. To be able to get them to come to the club, Andrea Nana, be able to sell your view and get those players to come to the club is exciting. So should somebody like Raphinha become available, with the statistics you can see here on the page, it's a no-brainer. Also, go watching him for Barcelona recently. He's a real tempo changer for them. He's a real he's been very creative for them, and he was brought in, I suppose, really to fill the boots of some really big names. And is he as good as a Neymar? No. Is he as good as a Messi? No. But if you're expecting him to be that good, then that's on you and not on anybody else. But what Raphinha does is really good. And if he was to become available, as I say, and come to Aston Villa, well, then I think it would be a very exciting time for the project that we're in. And I think that it would be a very exciting transfer as well. This one is actually live because it's on my lunch break. So I am going to come to some of your comments here as well. Nick Bailey talking about raising our profile further. I think so, specifically in South America, I think as well. Duncan Kilburn says that he's a top quality. Let me take this off here and I'll go full screen. Top quality replacement for Diaby. Rachel is saying this is all bluster of Villa to give Barca money to buy Nico. That's it. And I think that, as I said, I think Villa would be silly that if they were just not to do a deal with Barcelona, because that gives them the money to buy Nico Williams. Even if they have had conversations with Williams and Williams wants to buy Barca, I don't think you cut off your nose to spite your face in that situation. Benno says, I think we can do a lot better than this guy. Statistically speaking, and what we see in the field, I would have to disagree. We could do a lot better than him. And I'd like to know who, he's far outweighs any player that we have on our team at the moment. Based on his output and based on what he's done in the last year for Barcelona as well. Al 429 says, can't see the replacement being another wide man. Diaby struggled essentially. Also, no way do we get another left-sided attacker, surely. We seem stacked there. Raphinha plays on the right-hand side. So that's one of those questions, I suppose, answered. And yes, you are. I agree with you with regards to getting another wide man. But last night, tongue-tied. Last night, Leon Bailey played centrally. At times last season, Leon Bailey played centrally as well. So I don't think that Unai Emery is averse to starting his best 11 and putting somebody like a Leon Bailey into that number 10 role. Albeit, I think I'd prefer to see him out wide. But yeah, I think it's an interesting one regardless. But you do raise, there are some good points. And as I said, Ben raises some good points. I'd like, if we can get somebody that's better than Raphinha, absolutely. You know, I think that we can. Where else are we? Benno says Danny Olmo. Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Why not go for him? You know, his stock is high at the moment. He's at Leipzig. Seems that Man City might be in for him. There is a rumor that his release clause is terminates sometime soon. I think I read somewhere the 20th of July. So I think any team that wants to get him is going to have to come in there quickly. I think for sure. Absolutely. I think his stock is high and he'll have his pick of teams if he does want to move. But that's one to watch. But I haven't seen Villa be linked to him, but he would be an interesting character because I thought he was really, really good for Spain. And he was somebody that they weren't planning on counting on because of there was a Pedri that got injured at the start of the tournament. He was going to play more or less in that position. But Olmo took his chance and he was absolutely pivotal. Blocked one off the line even in the final. So absolutely fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. Ryan C is talking about Alex Baena. I still think yes. I would be a fan of Alex Baena. I think he's probably more natural suited to that number 10 position. Excuse me. Yeah, as I say, I if you were to, if I was to pick somebody who I thought at the start of the off season would be a no-brainer. Should we be in the position to sign a number 10? I would have said Alex Baena, but I just have no idea where Unai wants to go with regards to a replacement for Diaby, because I don't know whether he wants to because I don't know what he wants to do when he replaces Duran, and I don't know what he wants to do if he replaces Archer, and they're the other two big massive riddles for me as well. Is he like? When Diaby goes, do we replace Diaby like for like, or do we bring somebody in that we think can contribute to the team and be better within this team as well, and maybe move somebody else into that 10 role, or do we replace Duran with somebody who can play in that 10 role? You know, so there's just, I think the fact that there's so many questions around Duran, Diaby, Archer, and they all play in that they all play in an attacking role, and how fluid do we want to be in attacking, and maybe what tactical changes do we see with regards to the attacking made up, considering that we slightly blunted ourselves towards the end of the season, I think. But it's and that's why where nobody has the answer. That's why when we're linked with players, I kind of just talk about those players kind of regardless of their position, because as I said, the two other players in the central striking role do have a bearing on what happens with Diaby as well, and vice versa. I think because obviously you're trying to build a squad here, and you're trying to think, it's like a game of snooker. You're trying to think 2 or 3 shots ahead here with regards to what they know is coming down the line. So they will know whether Cameron Archer or John Duran are in their plans. We don't know, and we're speculating. And I think that's why the game of chess starts to happen with regards to what type of players are being brought in. But yeah, as I say, that's a very tangential answer to regards to Alex Baena. I would have expected him if there was at the start of the off season. I thought that he would be a shoo-in to come in the number 10 position, and maybe he still does. Maybe all this is, like, as I said, there is no massive link towards Raphinha. I just thought it was really interesting in the context of them wanting Nico Williams, and there being reports that we're in for Nico Williams, that it would be silly of us to cut off our nose to spite our face, that if somebody like Raphinha was available and we knew Williams wasn't going to join, not to go for Raphinha as well. Alvarez wants out of City. I see no way in hell that Julian Alvarez is in a claret and blue shirt ever. Not ever. I think he's going to go to Spain. I think he's going to go to, I think Atletico Madrid are really interested in him. I think that there will be a draw for him to go to Atletico Madrid. I would love him at Aston Villa. Absolutely love him. I just cannot see a straight line between him and Aston Villa at the minute. Just can't see him. And where he goes, I don't know, but he does want out of City, and he should get out of City. He should. He's way too talented to be a pseudo bit part player. He also sees the fact that there's, Lautaro Martinez is the main man for Argentina. He probably wants to rob his job, and become the main man for Argentina too. He ain't going to get it if he's going to be sitting behind Erling Haaland, or he's playing second fiddle to Erling Haaland. And he's of the age now where he's proven himself in Europe. He's come from River Plate and proven himself in Europe, and he should go. He should go out. I would love him to be at Aston Villa. Once again, I just don't. I can't draw a straight line between the two, between the transfer here at the moment. And we haven't been linked, as I say, but I would absolutely adore him here. But I just don't think it even comes up. I don't think we even get linked to him. Unfortunately. Couple of people saying no thanks on Raphinha. I'd be interested to know the definitive on that one, but I can understand why. People sorry about his so sorry, it was Luca there that was saying his age, 27. I think that's a fair concern with regards to his age, but we have signed, every player that we've signed has been under the age of 23 so far, outside of Ross Barkley. So I think that there would be some rebalance on that, bringing in players that are in their prime. From that point of view, obviously, look, people have spoken about wages as well. Look, they're all a massive concern. But no matter what's reported in the newspapers or what's reported online with regards to his fee, with regards to his wages, if anything has taught me, this off-season has taught me that a lot of that is nonsensical. It doesn't make any sense. And whatever is reported and then is put on the balance sheet can be two different things. I don't got the brain power anymore to be thinking about PSR because I just don't understand it. But obviously we do have to be conscious of it. For sure. Paul Wolfenden says people calling for Carlos and Dina to be sold because of high wages, then same people want to sign Williams or Felix for 25k plus per week. The key difference here for this, Paul, is completely understand what you say here, but the complete difference for me, or the difference for me, should I say here, is there's a massive possibility that Luca Dean, number one, he's over the age of 30 and he's going to be a backup player. Same with Diego Carlos, he's over 30, he's going to be a backup player. Nico Williams is a young player and he's going to be starting every day of the week. And same with João Felix. João Felix comes in here, he's starting every game that we can start him. And he's a young player, he's 23. So I think that there's like, you're going to have to pay for players in their like well into their prime like that, where you can put them on a 5-year contract and so on. Whereas, even if we re-sign Diego Carlos and Luca Dean to lower deals, which they would never agree to, because they'd be outside their mind to do that. If we sign them to new deals, realistically, are we going to be signing them to any contract extensions, in the next year or two? Just based on where they are, and their game time as well. Luca Dean, I can't see Ian Maatsen not being the starting left back. Luca Dean might be the starting left back for the first couple of months while Maatsen beds in, but we've spent 35 million or whatever it is on Maatsen, and he's young and he's Champions League left back of the year. I would imagine that every single chance is going to be given to him to start at left back whenever he's fit and when he's integrated within the squad as well. So I think it might be the opportunity cost from the two of those. As well, but understand your concerns for sure. Where else are we? LG is talking about Matheus Sule. I think it's more or less written like he's not going to come to Leicester now. I think he had concerns about coming to the Premier League. I read somewhere about joining Leicester. No, it could have been just about joining Leicester, a team that have just been promoted. But I think he's going to stay in Italy. I think Roma have more or less wrapped that one up. But could be wrong. That's only just internet conjecture as well. But everybody knows my views on Matheus Sule. I think he's brilliant. I think he's really good, and I think he's a guy who's going to kick the doors down in the Italian national team if he gets more and more game time this year. And I would not be averse to signing Matheus Sule at all if Unai Emery thought that was the case. And I know they went in for him. I know they were in for him in as I say, it was reported the Douglas Luiz negotiation. So maybe they go back for him. suppose it all comes down to the player and where the player sees his best opportunities. Because I think, he's somebody that will be looking at 21, 22, if I'm not mistaken. I think he will be looking towards his international. And this is really interesting. Really interesting. Every single Argentinian player will look at this Argentinian team at the moment and go, how long have we Messi for? This year, next year, the year after? Want to get involved in that because there's Copa Americas to be won. I know they've won the World Cup however many years ago, 2 years ago. Does Messi go to the next World Cup? I think every Argentinian player will be going, I'm going to break my absolute neck to get into that squad, because no matter, like, if you're trotting out a 39-year-old Messi, he's still going to be really good. He's, for my money, he's the best footballer of modern times. And when I say modern times, I'm talking about like from 1980 onwards. Okay, so I know we can go back as far as Pele, all that, and have that debate. Myself and Paddy have it almost on a daily basis. I think Messi has just been the most transformative footballer of my lifetime. And even at 39 years of age, he's still going to have that close control and that ability to be able to trade the passes that he needs to. I think every player wants to be involved with that, be in the midst of greatness. So the likes of Matheus Sule, the likes of Enzo Barnechea might be looking at being involved in that, and maybe that's what spiked his want to come to Aston Villa. So I think with every single Argentinian player, Julian Alvarez included as well, I think I will always come down on until Lionel Messi retires, until he says I am no longer playing for Argentina. Every single player at this moment in time that is eligible to play for Argentina will be doing absolutely everything they can to get into that international team. Everything they can. And Matheus Sule really will need game time and visibility, and potentially Roma gives that to him. Roma does give that to him. But Aston Villa would too. So let's see. Let's see what the story is. Right, I need to go because I'm just looking at the time as well. And as I say, this is an impromptu live stream because I'm on my lunch break. So I'm going to see everybody again later. Thanks a million for joining. I did an awful lot of just trying to trash things out here because, as I say, this wasn't I'm trying to convince you that Raphinha is definitely who Villa are going to sign. I don't want to do that in any of these scouting series. I think, as I say, I come on and I try and spout my thought process as it's coming to me, and I think this was one whereby, obviously we've no link to him at all, but it's the type of player and how we should, if we are chasing a player and a player from another team comes available, I think we give that valid consideration and see what the story is. But until we hear more about Raphinha, if we ever hear any more about Raphinha, or until a replacement is signed, I think we'll draw a line under this one and we won't be coming back to the Raphinha conversation anymore. But thanks a million, everybody, for joining. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll be back as soon as we can with whatever else breaks. And in the meantime, all that's left to say is up the Villa.